Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Scientists have found a way of halting dementia and Parkinson's disease in mice. The drugs used are already given to patients for other conditions, including depression. As our medical correspondent Fergus Walsh reports, the next step is to begin trials on humans.
This research mouse has a degenerative brain disease which is destroying its coordination. Look how it drags its rear legs. This second mouse has the same condition, but has been treated with a drug which has kept it healthy. The lead scientist says patient trials could begin in a year with the aim of halting Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease in humans.
Halting is an incredibly important goal here, because I do dementia clinics, and if I could halt disease when people come to see me, then you could maintain a meaningful quality of life, independence and freedom from institutionalization, which would be an extraordinary achievement.
So we're not talking about a cure for dementia, but drugs that might nonetheless slow Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. These neurodegenerative conditions involve the loss of healthy neurons in the brain. Now that starts with the build-up of faulty proteins, which triggers a natural defense response. This makes the cells starve and eventually die. The drugs prevent the defense mechanism kicking in and so halt brain cell death. These Medical Research Council labs in Leicester have found 2 drugs which work in mice and which are safe in humans. One of the drugs is already used as an antidepressant. But Joy Watson is not getting her hopes up because so many other Alzheimer's trials have failed. She was diagnosed on her 55th birthday, and now even a simple task like reading can be a problem.
You want to believe that it's going to be, you know, the fantastic thing that it's reported to be. But I don't allow myself to get that enthusiastic anymore. You know, I'd rather wait until more substantial evidence is there for the taking, really.
This is the antidepressant trazodone, which halted neurodegenerative disease in mice. But what works in rodents may not in humans. The patient trial results will be eagerly awaited. Fergus Walsh, BBC News.
Now, scientists believe they may have found 2 drugs that could prevent the death of brain cells triggered by Alzheimer's. It is early days, but the drugs are already being used on patients with other illnesses, so could be introduced relatively quickly if further tests are positive. Our science editor, Tom Clark, is with us. Tell us more.
John, there's 2 reasons why this science is really important. The first is that it's coming up with a potentially entirely new way of going up against neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. Traditional approaches have gone after these clumps of proteins called plaques that build up in an Alzheimer's brain, whereas this approach targets the body's overreaction to the presence of those plaques, which is to shut down making proteins in any of the cells of the brain, and that causes them to die. And what they've shown in mice is that if you give them these drugs, it dampens down that overreaction and cell death stops happening. So take a look at this. Here is a mouse that has a form of prion disease, which is another protein build-up type disease in the brain. You can see its behaviour's abnormal. It can't use its back legs very well. And then if we go to a mouse that's had the same disease, but the treatment with these drugs, as you can see, its behaviour is essentially entirely normal. Now, the second quite important thing about this work is they've done it by using 2 drugs that have already been used given to humans for other diseases, and that means it could be a lot quicker to get them into patients. Here's the lead author of this research explaining why that's important.
That's the excitement, that we found 2 compounds, one which is licensed and could go straight into clinical trials. So it's that we've been able to translate the exciting research we've done in mice and bring that into patients with a much compressed timescale than would normally be the case with a drug discovery program.
So are these the drugs that will actually stop Alzheimer's in humans?
We just don't know yet until they're tested in humans. The really promising thing is, because the drugs have already been licensed for humans, it might only be a year before they could start these clinical trials, not the 10 years you sometimes look at with these new sorts of clinical lab-based discoveries. But there are two big ifs. The first, what happens in a mouse doesn't necessarily happen in humans. There's been some great Alzheimer's drugs in mice. They've gone into people to do nothing particularly at all, not work at all. The second problem is we don't know how well they will work. And it's entirely likely, even if they do show the similar effects in mice, they're not going to reverse the symptoms of Alzheimer's. So these will always be drugs that need to be given in the very earliest stages of the disease to prevent the death of cells in the brain that causes those awful Alzheimer's symptoms. But it's a lot of hope around this in an area where there is much need for hope. So it's something we're going to be following quite closely in the coming months and years.
Tom Clark.
I've been getting away with it all